the luckiest slave alive, that he got into the ownership of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the father, there are beautiful poems in which he says that I'll be traveling to the east and the west, and I will travel as long as I can travel. I will go as far as the sun is rising in the east and where the sun is setting in the west, but I will never give up my journeys to go and find my son. And his love for his son, and of course any father who missed his son, who lost his son, we can imagine the love that the father would have for his lost son. And he was searching all over. Finally, some of his tribesmen, they saw him in Makkah. They caught a glimpse of him. They made some investigation, found out where he was located and who owned him. They came back and told the father that your son, we found him. He's in Makkah al-Mukarramah, and there's one person, Muhammad ibn Abdullah from the Banu Hashim, a great leader of the great noble tribe. He is owning him, and your son is in his possession right now. So the father comes back and tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I'm ready to give you whatever ransom you require, whatever money you want, but please allow my son to be released and come back to stay with me. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave him a very strange answer. He said, of course, we can imagine being so merciful, he would not request any money or demand any money. He said, no, I do not need any money at all, but I will allow your son to join you back if he wishes to. So the father, of course, thought this was a very absurd condition. Why would my son not want to be free, and on top of being free, join his family, father and mother in his homeland, his tribe, rather than being a slave in a foreign, strange land? He said, you are the most benevolent from the Banu Hashim, and you are so generous. I cannot thank you enough. Do bring my son forward. So he brought his son. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, do you know who this man is? Do you recognize him? He said, yes, this is my father and this is my uncle. Then he said that you are free to join. You are free, and I set you free, and you can join your father. And he said that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started crying. And he said that, I would love to remain in your servitude, in your bondage as a slave, rather than being free with my father if you can accept me. And I cannot tolerate to be separate from you. At that point, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam set him free, and he gave him the title and said that, I make you my sons, and he was known as Zayd ibn Muhammad. For a number of years, everyone called him Zayd ibn Muhammad, until the ayat later on was revealed in Surah Al-Ahzab. Ud'uhum li'aba'ihim huwa aqsatu 'inda Allah. That called them with their biological father's name, and do not mix the lineage. Thereafter, he was reverted back to Zayd ibn Haritha. And this was paining him so much that his name had been linked with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for so many years. Zayd ibn Muhammad, Zayd son of Muhammad, now he became Zayd ibn Haritha. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consoled him by giving him the distinct honor of being the only Sahabi whose name is mentioned in the Quran, in the same Surah Al-Ahzab. فَلَمَّا قَضَى زَيْدٌ مِنْهَا وَطَرًا. So much so that when we recite his name, Zayd, according to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, مَنْ قَرَأَ حَرْفًا مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ فَلَهُ بِحَسَنَةٍ وَالْحَسَنَةُ بِعَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا لَا أَقُولُ أَلِفْ لَامٍ حَرْفٌ بَلْ أَلِفٌ حَرْفٌ وَلَامٌ حَرْفٌ وَمِيمٌ حَرْفٌ. Every letter you recite of the Quran, you receive 10 rewards. And Alif Lam Mim, you receive 30 rewards. In Zayd, just saying the name Zayd, you receive 30 rewards, minimum. Za, Ya, and Dal. His name is in the Quran itself. If you do not say the name of Zayd, then your completion of the Quran is not counted in the eyes of Allah. You have to say the name of Zayd, radiyallahu ta'ala. So these are the children loving Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the women, they love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, that they love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much. There's not one incident. Jalaluddin Suyuti rahimullah in Asbab al-Nuzul, he mentions several different incidents of various different companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They all have the similar story with some minor differences. Gist of the same, all of them is the same, that they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on various occasions and said, Ya Rasulullah, how is it that we are going to be able to enjoy any blessing in Jannah? We love you so much. Many times we are overcome with unease out of our separation, and we come and wait and sit outside of your door until we see your noble face in the morning. Then we cool our hearts by seeing you. And what is going to happen in the akhirah? You will be in the highest of the Jannat, and we will be so low. Even if you're able to enter Jannah, we will never be near your rank. How will we be able to enjoy anything in Jannah when we won't be able to see you and meet you? Thereupon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had no answer until the ayat was revealed, and he recited this ayat in front of them. That فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا ذَلِكَ الْفَضْلُ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ عَلِيمًا. That those were the believers and do righteous deeds. They will be raised and they will be with. Ma'a means with. They will have the ma'iyah. They will have the companionship of the prophets. and the Siddiqeen, and the martyrs, and the righteous. And they are the best of companions. Hasuna rafiqa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise you with us and allow us to meet in the Jannah as well. This ayah had to be revealed to console those who were in depression and anxiety over the mere thought of separation from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Jannatul Firdaus even. So this is some of the examples of the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The respect of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is his right. It is a faridah and upon us to respect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some examples of that, some of the etiquettes mentioned in the Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allahi wa rasulih. Do not speak ahead of Allah and the Rasul. Do not speak above them, above Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, louder than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or reject any statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ja'far, one of the kings of the Banu Abbas, Khalifa Ja'far, he came to Masjid Nabawi and he was discussing an issue with Imam Malik rahimahullah. And while he was discussing, he got emotional about the issue. And while he was arguing his case, one fiqh issue that he was discussing with Imam Malik was the greatest faqih of his time, the Imam of Madinatul Munawwara, his voice, inadvertently he raised his voice and started speaking loudly as normally happens when you start engaging in a heated discussion. So Imam Malik rahimahullah stopped him. He said, لا ترفع صوتك فإن الله سبحانه وتعالى قد أدب قوما وقال لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي وذم قوما آخرين فقال إن الذين ينادونك من وراء الحجرات أكثرهم لا يعقلون ومدح قوما آخر فقال إن الذين يغضون أصواتهم عند رسول الله أولئك الذين امتحن الله قلوبهم للتقوى. He said, don't raise your voice. For Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, respect is farad now when he was alive as when he has passed away. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addaba qawman, he has taught the adab to particular people who had come and were speaking loudly. And he said, لا ترفعوا أصواتكم, don't raise your voices above the voice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised certain people, meaning the Muhajirin and Ansar, the Sabiqeen al-Awwaleen, the early predecessors, the loyal ones from the beginning who had the opportunity to gain that love and gain the etiquette. Look how Allah praises them. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَغُضُّونَ أَصْوَاتُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ, those who lower their voices in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ امْتَحَنَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ لِلتَّقْوَى. These are the ones who Allah has tested their hearts, their hearts are full of taqwa. And see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, number 3, has dhamma qawman. Dhamma means he has shown the faults and of the third group who raise their voices. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La ya'qilun, they do not have any understanding. Those who raise their voices and call out to you from far away, and say, Ya Muhammad, oh Muhammad, come out. La ya'qilun, they do not have any understanding. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, don't call Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kadu'a'i ba'dikum ba'da, like you call out to one another. Don't say Ya Muhammad, say Ya Rasulullah, say Ya Nabi Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says Ya Dawood, Ya Musa, and He has taken Ya Isa, all the Anbiya alayhi salam, He has addressed them directly. But with respect to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He addresses him with his titles. Ya ayyuhal muddathir, Ya ayyuhal muzammil, Ya ayyuhal nabi, Ya ayyuhal rasul. He does not address him directly. This is the lofty status of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We can see how the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His Rasul in the style of the language Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses with respect to His beloved Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just the one surah Wad-Duha is sufficient for us to see that. After taking so many oaths upon oath, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirms His loyalty to His beloved Habib. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Your Rabb has not abandoned you. Do not be afraid what these mushrikeen are saying. This was after the wahi had been stopped for a period of time. Allah Ta'ala is again consoling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. You will see how much I will give you until you are pleased. I will give you so much, I will give you such a lofty status, and I will bless you so much حَتَّى تَرْضَى, until you are pleased, O my Habib. And then Allah is reminding His favors. أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى. Were you not an orphan? Who took care of you? I am the one who took care of you. وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. You are poor and destitute, I am the one who has enriched you. ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. You are unaware, I am the one who has guided you. So therefore, do not be despondent, do not lose hope. I am with you. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being consoled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is loving Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much. How hard our hearts have become that we have lost the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we can never forget, my dear spiritual brothers and elders, those of us, majority who have come from Muslim countries, going through school or growing up in a Muslim environment, still, no matter how far we had strayed from the path and how sinful we may have been in our actions, but there is a certain element of love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which we have in our hearts. Even though our lives may be devoid of His sunnah, and even though our actions may not demonstrate that love, but definitely there is that flicker of flame of love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our hearts. We know that for a fact. But what I want to remind you is that small flicker of flame that we have in our heart for love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even that is missing in our generation here. Even that the hearts of the kids growing up here are devoid of that, because they never had the opportunity even to discover who this great personality was, how merciful he was, how kind he was, how great he was. They were never exposed to him. They do not even know what it means to love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They do not know what when we talk about love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it just conjures up images of violent mobs and destroying things and killing of people. That is what all the people came in the end now. They perhaps missed the fact that I spoke against that. When I spoke against the people walking right now, they have, now what happens is this is how we come to wrong conclusions. We know about the incident where the governor has been assassinated, and now you just come at the end, you hear me talking about love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so you automatically will draw a conclusion that I'm totally for that, or I was supporting that. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Even though in the beginning, about 5-7 minutes, we spoke against that extremism. And we said that that is not what love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam means. And the reason we are speaking about what the true love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam means and why we have a need to talk about this subject is because when we speak out against that extremism, then we end up going to the other extreme. One extreme leads to the other extreme. And speaking against the extremism of those who have crossed the limits and professing love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and are abandoning the Sharia, we end up speaking disrespectfully about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and losing our entire amal as well. So we have to maintain the correct balance. We have to love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the way to love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to love his sunnah, to inculcate his way in our life, and to follow him in his every minute detail possible. Just like the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they followed him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to follow in his footsteps and raise us amongst his beloved ones and those who love him. Al-maru ma'a man ahabba yawm al-qiyamah. A person will be raised on the day of Qiyamah with whom he loves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill our hearts with his love. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah.